Look at the palm of your hand. Do you see those lines? They define your history, your path, and your destiny. Now, look at a map of the world. Those lines you see there, they are not natural. Every line on that map is actually a scar from a war, a king's ego, or a bureaucrat's ruler, a scar that never truly healed. For thousands of years, humanity lived in between. There were no walls, no fences, no checkpoints. There were only horizons that whispered of endless possibilities. You could walk until your legs gave out, until the stars changed their positions in the sky. The world belonged to no one, or perhaps it belonged to everyone. We shared the rivers, we followed the herds, we were as free as the wind that knows no master. But then we did something irreversible. We drew a line in the dirt, and we called it a border. In this episode of The Mechanics of History, we examine the anatomy of these invisible walls. We travel back to the very first trench dug in Mesopotamia, to the bloody tables where Africa was sliced like a cake, and to the high-tech cages of the 21st century. How did we turn a vast open world into a global cage? And more importantly, what did we truly lose when we drew that first line? Welcome to the anatomy of borders. The first duty of a border is not to protect, it is to define. When you reach the gate, the machine does not look at your story, it looks at your data. The document you carry, the record you hold, or the coordinates of your birth. The border strips a person of their individuality and turns them into a mere statistic. If this data is not compatible with the system, the world ceases to be a home and becomes a locked door. This is the quietest yet deepest structural divide ever drawn across the earth. The core contradiction in the system's operation lies in its permeability. Today, for capital, raw materials, and digital flows, borders act as a transparent veil. Value moves across continents at the speed of light. But when it is the turn of the human who creates that value, that veil transforms into an impenetrable filter. The mechanism is structurally perfect. While it accelerates the flow of resources, it manages and restricts the human movement chasing those very resources. You do not need bullets to use a line as a weapon. What makes a border a weapon is the space of lawlessness it creates. Gray zones, where laws are suspended, where rights are caught on wires, and existence is imprisoned in a geographical coordinate. These lines do not just divide the land, they push the individual outside of a defined space into a state of placelessness. Though this structure is eventually called security, in reality, it is a massive mechanism of control drawn across the world. 4,500 years have passed since that first trench in Mesopotamia. Today, we no longer need stone pillars or massive walls to protect a border. The modern cage is now invisible. It lives in data centers, in biometric scanners, and in those tiny chips in your passport. A border is no longer a line on the ground. It is a digital shadow that you carry with you at every moment. The mechanism has become so flawless that we have grown used to defining our movement within this cage as freedom. Nature never recognizes borders. For clouds, rivers, and winds, these lines are meaningless, but for humanity, these lines are reality itself. When we turned the earth into a cage, we didn't just lock others out, we locked ourselves in. Remember, the moment a line is drawn, it is not just property that is born. At that same moment, on both sides of that line, two victims are born who do not know each other, yet are declared strangers. The mechanism continues to operate, and the cage is now fully visible, 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 visible. The modern world no longer builds its walls from concrete. Today's bars are woven from silicon chips, biometric codes, and fiber optic cables. You no longer need to wait at a physical gate for the border to stop you. The mechanism tracks your every step, every transaction, and every digital footprint, carrying the borders with you wherever you go. The border no longer lives upon the soil. It lives within your bloodstream and within the databases. In the past, humans went to the border. Now, the border enters the human. Your fingerprint is not a key. It is a lock. Your face is not an identity. It is a coordinate. We exist in this transparent labyrinth where every millimeter of our movement is monitored. We believe we are free, as long as we do not crash into the walls. But the true power of the mechanism is not in imprisoning us. It is in making us love this prison as if it were a sanctuary. The cage is now invisible because the cage is now us.